right, man. So they got some Jalen Duren trades out here talking about. We already talking about a lot about the Garland trade, but they got one out there talking about Jalen Duren in Milwaukee for a 2031. Myles Turner and Ryan Holland, whoever that is. Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, nah, I'd rather pay him his money before I do something like that. And I'll talk about the Garland thing again, but I'd rather just give him his money before I did something like that. So, that's just my opinion. But what do you get out of the Milwaukee trade? Okay, you get Myles Turner, but that's in my opinion, that's a downgrade. That's a downgrade in my opinion. That's a tremendous downgrade. He can shoot, he can block, he don't rebound at the same high clip, and that's another big thing, he a low rebounding, type of dude. He ain't getting a bunch of rebounds or nothing like that. So, yeah, man, it's just like, what is the benefit of 2031? Yeah, that might be a vital pick in 2031. That might be a great pick. That might be a phenomenal pick in 2031. That might be one of the picks of the years. But, are you willing to wait till 2031? And I think hopefully that's Milwaukee's 2031 pick. And that's a long way away. That's what, 5 years away? 4.5? So, hey, I don't see no incentive in doing that. Now, if you throw Tyler Hero in there and Myles Turner, and maybe we send you a first and some draft picks back, that may make some sense. That may make some sense. That may make a lot of sense. That may make a lot of sense. So, but yeah, I don't really see that really working out. I don't really see that being a good deal. But hey, maybe they believe it's a good deal. And I know the longer and longer this transpire. I'm racing with this Sprinter van and shit, bro. Like, bro, you just holding up the line, bro. But the longer and longer this drag out with Jalen Duren, the more and more people gonna start putting deals together. The more and more people gonna start putting deals together, bro. Signing trades and do this and do that. And eventually, I know they're going to sign Jalen Duren. I just know it. They're going to sign Jalen Duren. They're going to sign him. But if they sign and trade him for a deal like that, that's a terrible deal. I would just do Sengun straight up at that point. So, ultimately, and then also you ain't getting a lot for him and you trading him in the division. You trading for him in the division. You're not even getting a lot for him. And you trading for him in the division. Make that make sense. So, but as far as the Garland deal, I don't remember exactly what the Garland deal was. But, at that point, what was the point of drafting Abuka Corey if you're going to get Darius Garland? Garland is a phenomenal player, was an all-star in this league. He can score, do a lot of things. But the problem with Darius, and then also for the Clippers, what was the point of passing up on, maybe they didn't believe in A-Cuff. But at that point, bringing Garland on, he has injury issues. But if he can stay healthy, cool. You can play him next to K, good scorer. I think he can get a bucket and all that, but, I don't know what center we going to send back, If I'm going to trade Duren and probably not get a viable center back, it better be for somebody like Kawhi. And obviously, Kawhi would not like to play in Detroit. He would rather go back to Toronto at this point. So I mean, what can we do about that point? About that, you know? So it ain't really much that we can actually do about that. So, you know, but hey, you know, in general, like, nah, the Garland deal, that's a no-go in my opinion. I'm pretty much, you know, good on that. And then that Milwaukee deal, especially to trade him in the division, you know, that's a piss poor deal. But, you know, Garland ain't a bad player. He's a really good player, but he just don't stay healthy. I think he'll thrive more next to, you know, Cade than Donovan Mitchell and Colin Sexton. Him and Colin Sexton had a nice 1-2 punch. He just was an undersized backcourt. So you put him next to a bigger guy in Cade Cunningham. I don't know, I think at that point it didn't make a lot of sense, you know, but honestly, Detroit's biggest thing is you got rid of Stu, you know, so now you want somebody in the middle. So, you know, the Garland deal, like, I mean, nah. Now, then can you make a pivot and trade for another big fella? I mean, yeah, you know, you're giving up more draft capital. You're going to do all of that. You know, why draft Abuka Corey? You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to do all of that. Why not just pay Jalen Duren on top of all of that? You might as well just have paid him, in my humble opinion. But, you know, that's just how I see things. It don't make them right, don't make them wrong, just make them my opinion. But that Milwaukee deal that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. You know, they got to give you Hero or something. I don't know who all on that roster. Is Kuzma still over there or something? It got to be something more than that. They got to be something more. And then to trade them in a division and have to see them 4 times a year, you know, maybe, I don't know, y'all probably don't see Duren as a threat like that. I think he could be a threat. Anytime you see an old team, you want to spaz on them. But, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm still leaning towards the best option being he's going to be back. But, you know, they're going to make an announcement when you least expect it. You know, they're going to make an announcement when you least expect it. So, I mean, $36 million is the sticking point right now for 5 years. You know, I wouldn't mad if they just bump him up to 40. I mean, if he don't take 40 at that point, you know, it's like, then he don't want to be here. So we'll see what it is. I know people was asking, will it affect the morale of the team? I don't think it's going to affect the morale of the team. Not at all. I don't think it will. I think they understand the business of it. But hey, you know, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. We go live, we drop video. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Hit the link in the description to say find me everywhere from X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, the whole 9. Peace.